Good morning, Max. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you? How's Paris? How's the evening?
Everything is great. I've been looking forward to chatting with you for a while now, and I have a weird story. Honestly, I don't know if it's truly a customer experience story, but I've had this on the back of my head for almost a year,
Oh my
and did
goodness.
not quite know what to do with it. And I figured, look, the whole point of talking to Max is to figure out things you would not be able to figure out on your own. So why not just bring it up and see where that goes?
Oh, what a great idea. Well, hop on the couch. Let's. Now I'm intrigued. I got to hear this.
So just giving you a heads up, I'm not a customer. Not even quite sure I'm a prospect at this point. Well, I'm a prospect for the company. Do I consider myself a prospect? Probably not even. Nothing went terribly wrong. Nothing went terribly good. That's a meh kind of story, I guess. So
Okay. Well, ma, and
so,
sometimes interesting.
so here's a story. Last year, I believe, that must have been July, August, I have no idea. That was a while ago. I got the guy knocking on my door, actually ringing the bell to be precise. I went to the door, I opened, and this guy with newspapers in his arms, and he was trying to sell subscriptions to newspaper.
Oh, poor guy.
And, yeah, exactly. And he told me, look, we have that new initiative. We're trying to bring newspaper back. We're trying to motivate people to get them to buy newspaper, and it's incredibly cheap. We even give a lot of free stuff. You'll get your newspaper on time. That's guarantee every morning, and blah, blah, blah. And while he's talking, I have that memory of both of my grandfathers actually reading newspaper religiously every morning. Like if it was the only source of information on earth, they would not miss it. Which
it kind of was back in the day.
Exactly. Reading their newspaper in the same time as having their coffee. So I have all that memory, and I felt newspaper is kind of important, and I care about it, but I would never read it. So I tell the guys, it's not about price. You could give it away for free. I know myself. I would not read it. I actually receive some magazines about stuff that I do care about, marketing and design and projects and stuff like that. Truthfully, I probably read it once out of 10, and the other 9 times it ends up in the trash bin. So you're going to be producing paper while we are in this whole new world where we need to save the planet. You're going to cut trees to produce something for me. Let's not even talk about the price that I know is going to go to the trash bin without me using it. And I could feel the guy was trying very hard to convince me and tell me how cool that is to go back to, don't you have memory of you with your father and his newspaper? And yeah, but I'm not going to buy a subscription based on memories. I don't actually need it. So I felt truly bad for him, because there is another big layer about journalists. Journalism right now is kind of dying because you find the information for free on the internet. So how do you pay for people to actually do their job properly versus just selling buzz and trash stories? Let's leave that story for another day. But I do feel like I'd like to support it, but not going to read it. So we parted ways. I said, look, I'm sorry. I wish you best of luck, truly, but I'm not going to buy from you. And that's just the end of my story. And I know it's not a typical customer experience. I don't know if I'm a prospect or not, but I thought that's such an interesting thing, and I don't know what to do with it. So I don't know. How do you feel about that?
So it's sad more than anything else. I am literally a grandfather who reads the paper every morning with his coffee. I feel mostly, well, that's not true. I feel for the guy who's going door to door trying to sell something that people just don't want or need anymore. And the only pitch he can come up with is nostalgia. It proves this is not going to be the method for delivering information ongoing. When the whole thing in Ukraine started with Russia and Ukraine, I would read the paper, and then the first thing I do is go online because things were moving way too fast for the newspaper to even think about keeping up with. There's a lot of electronic things that more traditional newspapers are doing these days, but it's not. I just no one, no one should ever buy something for nostalgia unless it's like something you're going to put on a mantle, like the stuff I have behind me here that are just reminders. But to buy a product you're not going to use just because you feel sorry for a sales guy or somebody says, hey, your grandfather used to do this. That's just, you're right. It's truly not a customer service story or problem. It is a service that the world has gone around.
So
The traditional delivery of a newspaper just doesn't make any sense anymore.
if you are in a dying business, dying industry, and you don't want to give it up, which I think is a great thing, because if there is an audience, and there might be a much smaller audience today than it were 50 years ago, but there is an audience. How do you go about it? Because obviously his strategy doesn't seem to be working too well, or at least he's wasted a good 5 minutes on someone like me who's not going to buy it. So where do you start? What should the experience be? And should you actually be pushing and convincing people, or should you try to look at people who are actually looking for this kind of service?
No, you need to find a way to deliver your service in a way that people want to consume it. Certainly the New York Times, the Washington Post, there's a handful of newspapers that have come up with an electronic identity that works. It's a horrid, rough business right now, and all the newspapers are getting cut left and right. But and ironically, I think people may read more news than ever, but it's through Apple News or through whatever. There's some sort of conduit that's managing it now, and it ends up, it's another aggregator, right? And the people generating the content are not getting as much money for it as they used to. So how do you build a service with the reporters and the research and the photographers and all the stuff you need to fill the content we really need and want? There's going to be a handful of people making money generating the content, but it's going to be so much fewer than it used to be. And I have no idea how you fix that.
So ultimately what you're saying is, I have no reason to feel bad about any of this. I'm not the right audience, and he should probably have given up on me much faster or found another way to find the right audience, or reinvent himself and just change the approach altogether, because that may not be probably not going to be the future of information.
No, it's not. And, the poor guy going door to door selling it. I have an example from my grandfather. Imagine this. At one point during the Depression, his job was to go door to door selling stock to one company. So imagine somebody showing up at your door and saying, hey, do you want to buy Ring Central stock? I can sell it to you. Oh, you want a mutual fund? I don't even know what that is. Sorry, thanks. That was his job. It doesn't work that way.
And you miss the whole education piece of the top of the funnel, where people don't even know what the hell you're talking about before even buying anything.
Yeah.
Well, I do somehow feel better about it. It does feel like it was not my fault, and I was right not to buy something I was not about to use. So,
no, you were not a prospective customer. You were not a realistic shot at their point. No amount of loving door-to-door service is going to make. Well, I guess maybe if they came in and brushed the pages for you and handed it to you every day, but you're not going to pay whatever that would cost. I do have a relevant and very quick update I'd like to throw in, if I can.
Absolutely.
You remember a few weeks ago we talked about the newspaper delivery person that I didn't tip.
That you had to find his address or name and then.
Right. And I talked about he sent a holiday card, Christmas card every year. We found the card. So I have tipped him. He sent a very nice thank you, and I don't feel guilty anymore. I don't think I ever would have gone to the trouble of calling the newspaper to figure out who he was and what his address was, but we found the card. So
I'm
I did
sure
my duty.
you did the right thing, and he probably is incredibly appreciative of receiving a Christmas tipping in the middle of May. So I think you did the right thing.
Hey, better late than never.
Well, thank
right.
you so much for the update, Max. I wish you have a beautiful day, a Merry Christmas, and I will talk to you next week.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Julien, and enjoy your paper.
Bye, Max.